Hi everyone, it is week 13 of English 414 and we are nearing the end of the semester, but we're not quite there yet. This is probably going to be the most focused point of the semester for you in terms of really diving into your revision project, and making the most of that revision. So this little screencast will help you orient to this week's activities, and I wanted to go over a few tips for moving forward in the last few weeks of the semester so that you can do that with the most success. So for this week, week 13, you pretty much can focus exclusively on working on your revision. So that's what you should do. In the week 13 folder, you should have already seen an overview of upcoming due dates. That I just wanted to provide a snapshot of those due dates for you so that you have a sense of what the next few weeks will look like. Please do note that Monday, December 9th is the final submission day for this semester-long research project. So your final revision, your final essay that would be ostensibly sent off in, if you were really sending it off to your forum, it would be in the shape you would be ready to send it off to in your forum as much as you can get it to that shape. That's the project that you're working for that will be due by Monday, December 9th. Okay, and please note that there's an optional, again, this is an optional rough draft submission. If you'd like to take advantage of that, I need that draft by Sunday, the 24th, that's this coming Sunday, by 5 p.m. And of course, that means that I have to turn that draft around to you before the Thanksgiving holiday, and I'll do my best to do so. So if you want to take advantage of that feedback from me on a rough draft, you may do so. If you choose not to do that, that's entirely fine. You will not be penalized. That is a completely optional opportunity for you. Okay, so you should have that snapshot of due dates and review that. You should be working on your revision for the biggest part of this week, and then the only other thing that's in the week 13 folder is a blog assignment, and this should be an easy one. There's no reading required. It's just an opportunity for you to blog about your progress on the project. Where are you as of the day that you post the blog, and it's due on Monday, next Monday, a week from today. And it's just an opportunity for you to tell me what you've done so far, what you still have left to do, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, things of that nature. So that should be a pretty easy blog for you to complete. So really this week is all about working on your revision project. Okay, so as we transition into these last few weeks, I have several tips for you to hopefully help you and make the most of this revision process. So my first tip for you is to review the comments that I provided in your revision plan. So I made sure to email everyone their revision plan document with my comments. And if you send it to me as a PDF, then you'll be able to click on the little sticky notes that appear on the document, and those should expand to a little box that has a comment in it. If you submit it as a Word document, I use the comment feature and track changes to provide comments. So either way, you should have some comments from me. For the most part, I gave most everyone pretty detailed comments that I thought would help you as you work on your revision. So it's going to be in your best interest to go and look at those comments carefully. Let me know if you have any questions about them. Let me know if you can't see them, or if something's confusing. I'll be happy to help clarify that. So that's your first tip, is to really use those comments to your advantage. Okay, the second tip is probably the most important one that I need to emphasize right now. I would say that some of you are really sort of getting the idea of doing good, thorough research, and some of you are still at the point where you haven't made that turn into kind of letting the research do its best work for you. If you're in the second category, I have given you some sort of comment that suggests that you need to rethink some things probably about your approach. And what in this for the second group of people, what I think that is happening is you're still working with the framework of your original essay, or maybe you're just working with a framework that you have in your mind about what your paper is going to do, and you're not showing me, at least through the submissions that you've given me so far, you're not showing me that you're really listening to the conversation that's in your forum, the conversation that is being held by scholars talking about things that are coming up in your essay. So when you do this, when you don't listen, you're actually doing this thing I call thesis chasing. You have a thesis in mind, and so you're pulling from scholarly sources in order to chase after that thesis and plug in pieces of information that support it. So you're letting the thesis take control of your paper. What you want to do is, hopefully this time, all this time as you've been doing research, you've really been reading these sources and you're getting a sense of what the conversation is around the topic that you've chosen. And so all of the sources might not be ones that you use, but you are allowing that conversation to be what guides your research. And you do have a thesis, you do have an argument. It might be similar to the one that you had before, it might be completely different, but the big difference here and the way to distinguish um, kind of good research from not so good research, to make it a little overgeneralized, is that good research really shows that you're listening to that conversation, you're thinking about how all of the pieces of information that you're working on are coming together meaningfully, and you're responding to that. You're providing your own insights, but you're really doing that in response to that conversation. And when that doesn't happen, it just seems like you have this thesis in mind and you're really just kind of picking and choosing, cherry picking from the sources that you have. And it seems more like you're doing sort of patchwork writing rather than coming up with a really good response to the conversation that you've been learning about as you've been doing your research during this semester. So if you have questions about this, or if you're not sure if you've kind of made this critical transition, then let me know. And you have time. You have time to sort of, work with your sources in a more meaningful way. And if you have questions about whether you're doing that or how to do that, if you're afraid you're not, then contact me and I'll help you think more critically about that. Okay, tip number 3 is to make sure that you are frequently referencing your forum as you revise. So remember, going along with this idea of responding to the scholarly conversation, a big part of this project is for you to prepare your submission to this forum that you have identified as being a good fit for your particular work. So one way to do this is to look for the instructions for authors section of the website, and I'll show you an example of that. This is something that you should have already accessed when you did your forum analysis, but some of you, I'm not sure that you actually accessed this part of the website for your forum. And so I'll show you what that might look like in just a second here. And the other thing that you can do is have several articles that have been published from that particular forum, whatever it is, and those can kind of serve as a good reference for you to see how long those articles are, to see sort of some of the moves that have been made in those articles. It's just really nice to have those points of reference close by as you're working on your own project. Okay, so if you go to your journal, this is a journal called Rhetoric Review, and if you look at kind of the main page of the journal, whether you access it, you can usually find this information even if you don't go through the library. If you just go to the main page of the journal, you'll see over here, in most journals there will be some place, a menu that has information for authors and a place called instruction for authors. And if you click on this, you will get some pretty detailed instructions. Now again, some of you already found this information for your journal when you did your forum analysis, and that's great. Others of you, I don't think you access this information. So you don't necessarily have to write, for example, a cover letter for your for your final revision project, but this is going to give you a good overview of kind of the expectations for the journal in terms of length, in terms of content, in terms of any stylistic features, in terms of what style guide you should be using, like MLA citation, APA citation, Chicago Manual of Style, another citation format, etc. So this is what you'll need to look at so that you know the rules to follow for submitting to this particular forum. Okay, tip number 4 is something that I've given a lot of you individually, but I wanted to really quickly review it here. And that is, as you're working through your revision and you move toward your conclusion, I think that this little formula that I've provided for some of you is really helpful. So your conclusion can do 3 particular things. I think this is a great rough way to kind of work through a conclusion that functions well and is doable if you're one of those people who gets to the concluding part of your essay and you're not sure what to say, or you just think you need to repeat your main points. Well, you do start by repeating some of your main points. That's where this first suggestion is. Know what means this is what I know about what I've just written. This is what I know about my topic. So this first step is really reviewing quickly what you have sort of said and presented in your research up to this point. So what is the next step? And this is a section of your conclusion that gives the reason that your particular forum readership should care about this issue, should care about what you've spent all this time writing and presenting to them, what they've been reading through the body of your essay. Okay, and then the last part of a good conclusion usually leads to implications or answers the question, now what? Okay, so you've already rehearsed kind of your main points again. You've suggested why those should be important to the forum readership. And then finally, you suggest implications, maybe implications for that particular readership, implications beyond the journal, implications for further research, what additional questions your research has raised, things like that. So as you're looking at those 2 or 3 articles from your forum that you're using as your reference, you can look at the conclusion section that others have written in their essays and see if you can kind of see how these moves are happening in those conclusions. Okay, and the 5th and last tip is for you to, again, consider submitting a rough draft of your essay to me by 5 p.m. on Sunday, November 24th. This is an optional activity, and actually, I think I have one more tip here. Yes, tip number 6, and that is consider scheduling a meeting with me, and we can do this in person or we can connect through Google+, if you want a little bit more guidance or you have questions. And, of course, you don't want to wait until 2 days before the essay is due to say, I need lots of help. Give me a heads up if you think that you might need this. We can schedule it in advance at a time that works for both of us so that you have your questions answered and can move forward with confidence on working on this revision. And I should say that, I'm setting a high bar for everyone. You've been reading about research, you've been practicing how to do research all semester. I've encouraged you to try to find a forum that accepts undergraduate publications because I think that that's a good, doable target goal for you. But ultimately, this project is about taking your research writing to the next level. So I want you to push hard. I want you to do the best job that you can. I want you to implement as much as you can in this project. But realize I don't expect you to write as though you've been publishing research writing for 20 years of your life. You're pushing yourself. You're trying new things, and I expect you to take that writing to the next level and make it much stronger and more meaningful as research writing. So if you have any questions about that, please do let me know. Otherwise, good luck revising this week. I'll be around if you need me, and I look forward to hearing from you in the upcoming week or 2. Okay, thanks everyone.